neocons in National Review and other places are calling for an attack on Iran to get Obama's approval ratings up. That's coming up in the next hour. But for the next 60 minutes, we're joined by Freeway-Ricky-Ross, one of the biggest cocaine dealers in U.S. history. And he was sentenced to life imprisonment after being convicted of trying to purchase more than 100 kilograms of cocaine from a federal agent. Ross's capture was facilitated by his career-long dealer, and it goes through all of that. It came out in the Dark Alliance piece done by Gary Webb that won the Pulitzer Prize, that the CIA was the main supplier of Ross. In '96, the CIA's Inspector General basically admitted all this before Congress. And we have all the cases of CIA aircraft crashing with pure cocaine on board coming from the source. That happened just a year or so ago in Mexico. This goes on and on. So I want to get somebody at the heart of the cocaine epidemic on to break down what the drug war is really all about. He finally got out of prison. There have been all these big TV shows and movies and things made about Freeway-Ricky-Ross. And he now joins us here today. Good to have you with us.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me. You know, you tried to see me when I was in prison. I remember all the trouble that you went through trying to get in there, and you know, people wasn't going to have it.
But now you're out. I mean, look, your bio's so amazingly complex. Just out of the gates, describe yourself the way you would describe Ricky Ross.
Man, I'm a loving, caring person. I love to help people. I want to see people happy, free. You know what I'm saying? And just enjoying this wonderful planet that we have, man. I want to save our planet. I think that we've been running it, you know, and that's my goal right now. I've been going around speaking to kids, which is one of the other things that I think that we have to do. You know, we have to get our children where they become analogical thinkers. You know, right now we're raising a bunch of robots where they just go along with the system. You know, whatever the powers that be say, they do it. And never ask any questions. And you know, you got to question what's going on here. You know, when you see these people attacking different countries over oil and you know, resources, you know, it makes you wonder, you know, what is all this about? You know, is it really about weapons of mass destruction, or really just about making somebody's pocket richer who already have so much money that they're never going to spend it?
Absolutely. Expanding on that, Ricky, expanding on it, just in a nutshell, how did you get into drug dealing? How did you get supplied by the CIA? And is it true you were making profit $4 or $5 million a day?
Yes. I got into it from a school teacher. Turned me on to the drug business. I started with absolutely nothing, $125. I was broke. I was making my heyday $1 million to $2 million every day. It wouldn't be a day. It was not a day went by that I wasn't making $1 million.
Now, was that profit or just overall?
Overall, it wasn't profit. It would be off of $1 million. My profit would be about $200,000.
Now, when we come back, because we're about to break, I want to go through the history briefly for people that don't know. Most people do, but directly from the horse's mouth, as they say, not from the media spin, that you didn't even discover till later you were really being supplied by the CIA. I want to walk through that because this is a historical record. And then Gary Webb, they tried to discredit him. He had a new book coming out proving he was right. He's been since vindicated. He said people have been breaking into his house. Then he got killed, shot himself twice in the head. And the police said, oh, it's normal to shoot yourself twice in the head.
With a shotgun. I don't know.
All right, Ricky Ross, stay there. The website is freeway-enterprises.com, freeway-enterprises.com to check out all things Freeway Ricky Ross. Ricky Ross is our guest. We got 58 minutes or 55 minutes coming up with our guest today. Very honored to have him with us and glad that he's been speaking out against the system. Stay with us. freeway-enterprise.com, freeway-enterprises.com, links up on infowars.com. and prisonplanet.com. Ricky Ross spent decades in prison. We interviewed him from prison over the phone. Couldn't ever get into interviewing. For American Drug War, 5 years in the making that Kevin Booth made. By the way, that's available at Infowars.com with How Weed Won the West, exposing this. Our listeners on the Twitter, on the Facebook are going crazy. If you have questions for Freeway Ricky Ross, you can send it to twitter.com/real Alex Jones, and we'll ask some of those questions. But Mr. Ross, again, well, I'm going to have him tell it. Going through how he became the biggest drug dealer on the West Coast, how he discovered that it was the CIA supplying him. It came out in the Dark Majesty and Dark Alliance pieces done by Gary Webb. They clearly then murdered him, the cover-up of that, and now where he's going today, what he's doing today, and what he has to say about the phony drug war. We've got all these drug dealers interviewed.
I got a lot to say about that, Alex.
Go ahead, sir.
That it's robbery. A lot of those people should be put in prison. That's running this drug war. It's a mockery.
Well, we're going to get into that. In fact, right now, just give us your take on how the drug war really works, who's really behind the drugs, and let's go over your history.
Well, you know, Alex, I started off, when I first started selling drugs, Alex, believe it or not, I had no clue that I was going to become a drug dealer. No intentions on becoming a drug dealer. I was a tennis player trying to become a tennis pro, wanting to go to college first to play tennis, and then wanting to go from there to become a pro. It was a movie came out that first introduced me, the first time I ever heard about cocaine, and then it went from there to a teacher telling me that that's how he made his money. And that sparked my interest. I went from being a total novice within 5 months to being, you know, a player in the drug business, making, you know, $1,000 a day. So basically, I was trapped almost, I would say, because, you know, when I go out and talk to these kids right now, I let them know that I know that today they may be innocent and not involved in drugs or anything like that there, but tomorrow, you know, that could change with circumstances. So that's basically how I got started in it. How I found out about that the CIA was involved, I got a call one day from my lawyer. My consulate came and got me and said, hey, your lawyer said he needs to talk to you. So when I called my lawyer back, it was he was telling me about Gary. He didn't tell me Gary's name, but he said some reporter is investigating your informant, and he said that this guy's a major player. I said, well, hell, I already knew he's a major player. That's where I used to get all my drugs from. So I didn't know how major he was, though. You know, I didn't know that he had the ties that he had. I thought that we would just basically, you know, work in Los Angeles. I didn't know that, you know, he had spots up in San Francisco, Oklahoma, New Orleans. He was basically working the whole country. So my lawyer told me, he said, well, this reporter wants to come and see you. I said, well, I ain't got nothing to lose. You know, I'm looking at a life sentence. I ain't never going home. And the evidence is stacked up pretty good against me. You know, this guy, he called me and tells me that he has 700 kilos of cocaine and he needs to get rid of them. And these guys are on his back and he owes them money and they're going to do something to him. And would I please help him get rid of, you know, a couple hundred? You know, and I try to explain to him, hey, man, you know, I'm out the game. I'm trying to go straight, do the right thing, you know, and, you know, just do the right thing now. Well, anyway, he sweated me for 6 months. And finally, I broke down and I introduced him to a friend. When I introduced him to this friend, DEA come in and arrest all of us and take my friend's money who I introduced him to. And
they wanted to burn you in hindsight because previously your big supplier had been the CIA. Let's go back, though, and explain that, because that later came out in the Dark Alliance piece.
Absolutely.
I mean, give folks the names of these players.
Norman Nessus, Danilo Blandon. Danilo Blandon is the guy that I dealt with hand to hand. You know, I saw him every single day, 2 or 3 times a day. Norman Nessus, I never remember seeing him, but Danilo testified on the witness stand that we had been in buildings a couple times together. Because, you know, when I was young. I wasn't really paying attention to who was who, whose name was what. I didn't care about the Contras.
They were using you as the main front. Continue.
Right. Basically, the only thing I was really doing, Alex, was selling drugs. I loved it that I was getting drugs so cheap and I could beat anybody's price and I could get all the drugs that I wanted. Those were my main concerns at that time. I didn't care if they was coming from the Contras, the CIA. I didn't ask any questions.